Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for September 9th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I'm here today to update you on everything that happened yesterday. The Big Brother 27 live feeds. It was day 63 in the house. And yeah, only 3 days since Rachel left. Feels like it's been forever. But we are here. We're going to talk through what happened yesterday. We did have a veto ceremony, and we had some campaigning and such. Also some jealousy talk. So with me to talk about it all is Matt. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing terrible, Taran. Just as we all are. I will say at least it's Tuesday. I think a lot of us have been waiting for this day to arrive. I even, I'm asking myself, do I want to watch tonight? Or, of course the answer is no, but at least the option will be there as of later tonight. But I don't know. We can just finally rip that Band-Aid off and just move on with the rest of whatever the heck is going on this season. It's not fun. It's not good, but we're going to keep talking about it until we get a conclusion.
Yes, feel free to join my Patreon and watch that version of the stream if you'd rather not watch the episode yourself. Let's talk about the day, though. Of course, as you know, Lauren won the HOH. She nominated Ashley, Morgan, and Will. Morgan won the veto and plans to use it on herself. Whew, that was a close one, right? Right, from last week. And so this means, of course, that Keanu is going to go up in her place. That is what Lauren intends to do. She's already told Keanu that's what she intends to do. And so, of course, that is, in fact, what happened. It was a pretty simple scenario there. Keanu is now officially on the block.
With a little bit of maybe I should have listened to Rachel, a little bit of that in the air. And I don't want to come down on Keanu. I think a lot of us have maybe been looking to Keanu as like maybe an acceptable contender in the game with Rachel now out of the picture. I know that's not everybody, but it still does feel good for anyone to sit there and have that realization because it happens quite often, or it's happened quite often on this season.
Yes. So with Keanu on the block, he's still pretty pissed about the way that it was handled, the whole renom. Basically, like, if she's gonna take the shot, she needs to just own it. And how she's like, oh, it's so hard to make a nomination. He's like, that's the shit Vince does. Maybe that's why they get along so well.
Yeah, she is nothing if not afraid. We know that nothing has changed. She literally, there was a quote from her yesterday saying, talking about Keanu, great, another person to be afraid of. Because it's everybody in the house, especially people that she's nominating. She's now had to put up, I don't know how many people across her 2 HOHs, and just another person that has to go up at her own hands. And she would like to avoid talking to him at all costs, rather than what Keanu was hoping for, of like, just come to me and tell me you're a big threat. I want to take you out of the game.
He does have a conversation with her. And as you might expect, it consists of, I'm not targeting you. I just think you have the best chance to win the blockbuster. And eventually she says, I don't know that there's anything I can say that's going to change the situation. And he says, honestly, I don't think there is either. And then, the conversation goes nowhere. There's no point to it. They both know it.
Both Lauren and Vince were trying to come up with like the different ways that you can phrase it to try to get Keanu to understand that this wasn't an attack on him. Oh, you're up against Ashley and Will. You have such a good chance of winning the competition on Thursday, and everything might be okay at that point. And I just want you to know it's not personal. It's just the way. Save it. I mean, I know it's Keanu, but he's still not. This is everybody, pause for a second. He's not that dumb. he's not dumb enough to the point where he can't see that this is clearly a shot on him. And this isn't just, oh, you're going up as a pawn because there's nobody else to nominate. So, you're at final 8. You want people to start respecting your game. You're getting close to the, to having to face the jury. Lauren obviously has some fears about that, as do all of us, of what she might be, whatever might come out of her mouth at that point. So start building up the respect now. She just does not have it in her at all.
Yeah. So instead, she spends a good 3 hours hanging out with Vince up in the HOH room. And there's a little bit of talk about Ava, how people are talking about Ava can maybe win the game now because she's won some competitions and she took out Zach. But mostly they're talking about like, oh man, we're just both scaredy cats, you know? And how they don't believe that Zach really had the power. Vince is convinced that it's a lie. Lauren is like, I don't think Zach would lie about it. And he's like, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't matter. They talk about it for a while.
With the dip in Ava's popularity, I have seen some people celebrating Zach on social media the past couple of days for not allowing Ava the extra money that week, and saying he just saw the vision much earlier and we didn't see it at the time. So shout out to Zach.
Wow.
Ava literally has been making pleas with us with the cameras
Yeah.
throughout the day yesterday. I really need the money. I don't know if she's talking about the win or the AFP, which maybe she's still holding on to a little bit of hope
I think
about.
she's talking about AFP.
Yeah, she keeps talking about that it's all Rachel's fault, of course, what happened, trying to make sure that the world knows that this isn't at her feet. It is a little bit, but that's not why exactly you're not having a lot of love. It's because of everything else that you've been saying. But we can talk about that when you get out of the house.
I feel like the edit is going to tank her tonight. And I think she's fearful of that as well. Because I think the edit's going to look to blame anyone but themselves. And so obviously they're going to try to blame Rachel as much as possible. But I think they're also going to try to blame Ava as much as, if Ava had just picked her, then none of this would have happened.
Yeah, we're gonna see the grab, whatever the grab was, at some point on the episode tonight, and we'll see, I guess, other people's commentary on how much of an impact that should have had, and that could definitely color the perception of Ava a lot. I mean, it'll be easy for them to sway the audience away from Ava because of the character that she is. It's like you could very easily go the like Nicole Anthony BB21 route, or the opposite side of that, the 22 route, and say, this person is just absolutely lost it.
Well, because Vince spends so much time up in the HOH room, you could tell Morgan was getting antsy. She literally called him down to do some chores in the middle of it, and then he went back up. And so she was not happy. They went to have some hammy time. And she was just kind of laying on the hammock. I don't know. He's like, what? Is something wrong, Morgan? What, did I do something? I don't know, Vince. I mean, was it because I was hanging out with Lauren? I mean, you do hang out with her all the time, Vince. You do hang out with her all the time. She voted for me. She voted, and she also put me on the block. I know. I'm just trying to, play the game. I mean, I don't want to. If I didn't hang out with her, I'd just be clingy to you all the time. It's like, I want you to be clingy to me all the time. Well, you betcha. That's what I'll do. But I mean, just so you know, you hung out with Keanu all the time last week. So it's that kind of annoyed me. And they have, one of these conversations.
I'm starting to get the vision. I'm trying to see this in a different way, a little bit more comedic, because at this point, what else can we try to do but laugh? It's like in a movie where you have the guy and the girl that are dating, and the guy's little sister hates the girlfriend. And Lauren's obviously the little sister, and Morgan is trying to convince Vince that his little sister hates her. And every time that Vince turns around, Lauren's making faces, making fun of her, putting glue in her hair type of thing. And, Vince is just not seeing it. No, she's my sweet little sister. She would never. And Vince has to know deep down. So the analogy doesn't work all the way. But it's a comedic, it's a whole show at this point. You were talking about last night, the insanity of how has Vince not brought them together at this point to find a way to get them all to work together? It's insane. I mean, to me, we obviously lost Rachel, and, if we're going to make more comparisons, call it the BB22 losing Danny. At this point, the only BB22 like worthwhile at the end is does Morgan get cut like Nicole got cut by Cody? Like, do we get to that final three and Vince has to make the choice? That really could be the only interesting piece left in the season. It's not the final three that I want to see, but if Vince has to break heart of not only someone outside of the house, but also somebody inside of the house at that final moment, maybe we got a little something. It's nothing, but it's maybe a little something.
Yeah, I mean, she complains all day about it, Morgan. This whole situation with Vince and Lauren, they have this long conversation. And by the way, like, I sort of did the voices, but I was not doing the actions, which is that she's on the hammock and he is literally on his knees, folded over onto the hammock, at first holding his own arm, but right next to hers, and then caressing his own arm, but in a way so that the backs of his fingers are caressing her arm, because that's the kind of tomfoolery they get up to all the time. Then eventually he is just like taking her hand. There's a clip where it's really looks like he kissed her hand. And then she moves her hand away, and he's like, "Whoa!" And so there's just a lot of that, of course, going on as well.
And here, in the exact same day that Morgan was questioning out loud, I don't know why I keep getting asked if there's more going on here, if there's like, if I have feelings for him, if this is anything more than what it looks like. I don't know why I keep getting asked that.
Which again is why I say, of course they know exactly what's happening.
Yes.
She has that interaction in the same breath that she's getting kissed on the hand, and they have a conversation about cheating, which we'll talk about. So anyway, she is talking about Vince all day, about like, oh man, he's hanging out with Lauren so much, and it's just so frustrating. He's supposed to be my number one, and then he's talking to Lauren so much. And it's pissing off Will and Ashley. They're just like, shut up about Vince. Oh my God. And I would say, if there is a world where Morgan makes it to the final two and she doesn't win the game, I would primarily blame this. I think she's just focusing her entire game on the constant complaining about other people, but primarily about men, is just really annoying the other players and making her seem like she's not an active player and just obsessed with them.
No, 100%. It's really feeling like she is still in that house to play the game with Vinny or not play it at all. And so that's all she talks about. That's all she cares about. So that's all, that's all one thing. I do want to kind of give a little bit of credit here to Will. If this was a game that was about social game and about social maneuvering and conversations and stuff like that, Will would be crushing it. And he would still be somebody that I would think could win this whole thing. I feel like, we looked at Vince at the beginning of the season, like he was going to be this character, the one that was really good at successfully mirroring and having good conversations with people and giving them what they need out of every conversation. Will does that 100 times over in every conversation that he has, where he's talking to Morgan and he's like, oh yeah, Vince is always doing that kind of stuff. It's crazy. Like, no, you're 100% right. Like, you should feel validated in the way that you feel. Of course we see what you see. And then he goes and talks to Ava and he's like, Morgan's losing it. And that riles Ava up in the exact way that she wants to have the conversation with Will, talking about how much Morgan sucks. So Will, again, doing such impressive social navigating in this game, but that's not what Big Brother is about anymore. So it just may not mean anything in the end, but I still wanted to call it out.
Oh, yeah. Will is an infinitely better player than Vince at the game Vince tries to play. Yeah. He just isn't going to be able to win competitions. That's literally the difference. Yep. That's just it. And he got screwed over with the twist with Rachel leaving. So Keanu does go on a campaign. He has an idea of what he wants to do. His campaign is, again, talking a lot about who can win in the end. And he, according to him, if Lauren succeeds and eliminates him from the game, then nobody will be able to beat her in the final two, because he's the only target worth taking out of the game now that Rachel's gone, and nobody was able to take Rachel out. So therefore, if she succeeds at this shot, she'll definitely win the game. Also, though, she'll be the biggest target and will never make it to the end. If she misses her shot and both of her HOHs were failures, Adrian and Will leave, then she can never win the game because nobody will ever respect her game for having having had two terrible HOHs. So therefore, they should make Will leave this week instead of him. Not even Ashley. Will leaves this week instead of him or Ashley. And then Lauren will be completely cut off at the knees. She can never win the game. That is his argument to others.
I don't even know if that all needs to happen. It might already be set up that Lauren can't win this game. You guys were talking last night about how Kelley could win this game, and that's because if she sits next to Lauren, there's a pretty good chance that those votes go her way rather than Lauren's. Lauren is just, on her second HOH and hasn't earned an ounce of respect from anybody in that house. That's not Vince, and you can't even necessarily say that Vince respects her. He just needs her in the game. Is really the end of the story there. So there has just been nothing to point to. No relationships that she has built, and I hate to come so hard on her every time that I talk about her throughout the season, but it's just we're talking about these Big Brother games and it's just not there. It's really bad, and we're getting so close to the end game, and it's not even just the fact that the game moves aren't there, the relationships aren't there. It's like you're actively pissing people off by not the Keanu thing here. It's like Keanu should not be somebody that's so hard to get to have any semblance of wanting to vote for you in the end, but he is so actively wanting Lauren to lose this game at this point. And it's not just because she nominated him, it's because of the approaches that she goes about everything. It's crazy.
Yeah. So that's what Keanu's argument is. He goes to Ashley and talks to her, makes a pitch, essentially trying to make a deal with her that they're going to keep each other. And they talk over, he says Rachel was right, and she's like, yeah, we knew that Lauren was coming for you. And they even start talking a little bit about the Riley situation, the Vince situation of he was like, well, why didn't you tell me about the concrete information about Lauren? She's like, well, you kind of have a history of running information back to people. And he's like, what do you mean? Well, what? And she's like the time that Rachel told you about Vinny. And he's like, no, but that wasn't even Vinny. That was Morgan. And so she goes on to warn him, hey, I don't think you can trust Kelley. I think there's a reason Kelley's not a consideration for nomination at all. And I don't think that you should trust her with information. And he's like, oh, that is a good point. I don't know why she wasn't a consideration, but I can trust Kelley. We're both in the same position. So of course he goes and talks to Kelley about this conversation and about how he's trying to gather votes and how he thinks he's got Ashley. And of course, Kelley then immediately rats him out to anyone that will listen to her.
Yep, I can't believe we are on day, what'd you say, 60? And we're still talking about Kelley and Keanu. It's just insane. If you told any of us, weeks ago, but again, we didn't realize that this game was going to be about competitions all the way through. And so here we still are. Look, I like the Ashley and Keanu dynamic at this point. What do we have left? You look around and just there's remnants of the entire game scattered on the floor behind you. It's all been exploded and it's just a mess. In any world that you can gather up each other's votes to go forward, it would be important. It would be definitely, they lost Rachel. They both lost a key piece in their game. And now they're looking at each other like, can we help each other? But unfortunately, that didn't change who Keanu is at his core, someone who is not the stupidest person in the world, but not always the most tactful with where he trusts people and how he approaches new information that he's learning that he didn't come up with on his own.
People should not forget that Keanu is terrible at the game. This is his 5th week needing to win safety because he would otherwise be gone. And it's almost entirely his own doing because he continues to trust the wrong people, make bad arguments, and divulge information he should not be divulging. It's just where we are. But hey, he's in a house of other really bad players, so doesn't look as bad.
So, and it's all about competition. So just keep on winning.
So he also talks to Morgan. He makes a better pitch to Morgan, in my opinion, which is we are the only two people in the game that are willing to target Lauren. And so you should want to keep me around because you know Vince isn't going to target Lauren. You know Ava and Kelley aren't targeting Lauren. You know Will's not going to win anything. So you should want to keep me and Ashley around. But because he's not really anticipating that he'll be on the block against Ashley, that Will would win the blockbuster. Because we will go after Lauren. And this does resonate with Morgan to some degree here because she wants to go after Lauren. Of course, not enough to keep Keanu in the game, but it is something that she actively wants. So that's good.
I kind of feel like she could see a world where she could want Keanu in the game, especially if you completely shift your focus to how many times do we have to say it, how important competitions are, that the idea that getting Will out, who is not winning and cannot win, might make a little bit of sense, even though he's on your side, so it is a tricky line, but I don't know. It doesn't feel like much.
Well, as I said, it's a good argument. The problem is he's already told Kelley everything about his actual plan, which is to nominate Morgan.
Yes.
And Morgan has already, by the time he talks to her, has already heard about Keanu's actual plan and is like, oh, interesting that you say you're going to put people like Ashley, Lauren, and, whoever on the block, because that's not what I'm hearing. I'm hearing you're putting me and Vince and Lauren on the block. And he has to be like, what? No. Because he, despite being warned, is trusting Kelley. So they have this conversation. Of course, he also had that conversation with Ashley. That's a hard conversation to have too, because he has to promise Ashley he's not putting her on the block. He has to promise Morgan he's not putting her on the block. Ultimately, though, this is not going to go anywhere. He does not make any real progress with Ashley. She's not actually willing to keep Keanu. He does not make any real progress with Morgan, who is also not really willing to keep Keanu. However, this does make some progress for Ashley, who was able to talk to Keanu and essentially convince him that it is a good idea to keep her in the game. With Keanu's vote, she now actually has a little bit of a shot against Will because she also has Morgan inclined to want to keep her. And then she would have just needed Kelley, but Kelley's not on board. Kelley talks to Ava. She's definitely locked in to keep Will. She again rats out Keanu's plan. She actively wants Ashley gone over Will. However, there's maybe a chance that she could pull Vince if Morgan pushes hard enough, right? If Vince is like, oh, I'm sorry, Morgan, I need to, I'll do anything. Then there's a world where the three votes could be Vince, Morgan, and Keanu to keep Ashley over Will. So that is something to keep in mind over the next couple of days. If Ashley is able to actually pull something like this off, it would heavily require, in my opinion, working on Morgan and then Morgan working on Vince.
Yeah, and Vince can do honestly whatever he wants. We've seen that 1,000 times over, that he can, go against Lauren's wishes and she will still bounce right back to him the following week. So even if, obviously Lauren can't win power next week, she can't win HOH, but even if Lauren decides that she wants Ashley out over Will and Vince decides to do the opposite, whatever, they'll be fine.
Yeah, so I mean, I would say in particular, Ashley needs to frame this to Morgan, I'm better for your game. Will is better for Lauren's game, Vince's game, because Will is attached to Ava, who's attached to Lauren, and so you and Vinny should vote to keep me. Otherwise, we're just benefiting Lauren's game. Make this into, for Morgan, Vinny voting for Will to stay is choosing Lauren. Vinny voting for Ashley to stay is choosing me. And then I guarantee you Morgan will have Vinny's vote in her pocket the next day.
Interesting. When you were walking through that, I was thinking about Ava with Lauren, Ava with Will, a little bit with the Vince Morgan Lauren dynamic, where it's like you have the one person that should be able to bring two close people to them together, and something could exist there. Ava doesn't play Big Brother. We know that. So that's why it's tough to ever imagine a world where that could happen. But, I've been saying this for weeks now. The fact that Will and Lauren never have conversations and maybe know one thing about each other in the entire time they've spent in the house is just hysterical. Every time that Will mentions, I don't know the last time I talked to this girl, I laugh. So yeah, again, if Ava was a player in the Big Brother house, she should very easily say, let's come together here and work our way towards the end. But that's just not the group that we have.
Which is exactly what Will has done with Ava and Ashley.
Yeah.
Ava hated Ashley,
Yep.
and Will put in work to make sure that in key moments, Ava did not screw her over with votes, with her HOH. That is how you play Big Brother and make sure you don't lose allies until production decides you lose an ally anyway. As I mentioned, Keanu does also campaign to Vince, of course. Part of Keanu's campaign, has been about jury votes. And Vince, of course, who is very bad at this, is like, oh, Keanu, I know I'm definitely keeping you because I know if I vote you out, I'm losing your jury vote. I know that's the case. And it's just like, why say that? Why say that? Even if Keanu's been talking about it, even if you think it's true, why are you saying it out loud like it's a valid thing? Why are you not trying to convince him otherwise? Why are you continuing to lie to his face and admit that it's a valid thing for him to withdraw his jury vote from you, and then instead complain about it to other people afterward? Oh, this intimidation tactic is so unfair. It's not fair that he's gonna not vote for me in jury if I vote him out. It's like, okay, do something about it. That's the game. You convince him otherwise.
No, it's easier to whine and complain and caress Morgan's hand in the backyard. That's what we want to do in the Big Brother house. And that's what we're going to do for the next 3 weeks. That's all that we like to do around here. Keanu's not voting for Vince. Keanu's not voting for Lauren, but if he has to choose between Lauren and Vince, he's voting for Lauren.
Who knows? Keanu's not voting for a whole carousel of people at this point. So it's,
I think the number one on the list of who he does not respect whatsoever and would never vote for, I think it has to be Vince at this point.
You cannot underestimate the power of the fact that he's a man.
And well, yeah, that and he'll have some time with Rachel by that point, who will try to convince him of something that he won't listen to. So that'll also be a factor. But at least when they're both out of the game and there's no stakes on their end of things, maybe, but it's also Keanu.
We'll see. As I mentioned, Ava and Kelley talked. Kelley and Lauren talked. The three of them still locking in. They've even named their final three now, like the Flower Power or something.
I hate it. It's like if the Bronte, what was the three? Bronte, Michelle, and Natalie.
Oh, what were they?
They weren't like the Powerpuff Girls or something.
It was something like that, yeah.
But this is like if they made it all the way to the end of the game, but worse.
Can I say something? If this were if this suddenly became a game that was purely social, these three would make it to the final three.
Yeah,
in the best position.
Right? Yes, thank you, chat.
Spy Girls, of course. So we'll see what happens here. The biggest thing in their way, of course, is Keanu, and the fact that Morgan's now won a couple of vetoes in a row. So we'll see what happens with them, but they are definitely well positioned, especially if they are able to keep Will in the game as opposed to Ashley. So keep that in mind. Vince and Morgan talk again later in the night. Morgan now against more recently pro keeping Ashley. She talks to Vince about it, and he's pushing back. He does not want to keep Ashley. He thinks that keeping Ava and Will in the game together is a good thing because they're more of a pair they'll go on the block together. It's actually a pretty bad argument, but he's basically just trying to say, no, I don't want to do this. Morgan is willing to concede because she's talked to Will before, and he said he was willing to drop Ava, and she really wants to use Will as an example of what Vince should do. So as long as Will is willing to drop Ava, then they can keep him, because Vince should also then be willing to drop Lauren. Again, this is what Ashley needs to get into with Morgan, because right now in Morgan's mind, she's thinking the way I can get Vince to choose me over Lauren is by showing him the example of Will choosing me over Ava. When what Ashley should try to convince her to say is what I've already said, which is that keeping Ashley is Vince choosing Morgan over Lauren. But that's the way that she's currently framing it. And so that conversation kind of stops there, that they are settled on keeping Will for now, but Morgan does want to talk to him. I'm sure that Will is going to, again, say that he's willing to drop Ava. So I don't think that's going to be an issue for Will. I think the main thing is that Ashley needs to get in there.
You happen to remember a couple weeks ago when Morgan spent 48 hours in Vince's HOH room to try to convince him of what she was trying to convince him of in the game, basically to not go after Rachel that week and the specific agenda that she wanted. Remember when she was an active player that had plans and saw things for herself in the future of her game?
Oh, she still does. Her plan is get rid of Lauren.
Yes, that's what I was just getting to. Remember when she had any plans for like herself to go forward in the game that weren't just let's get rid of Lauren? That's the only thing that's left on her radar. Let's get rid of Lauren, and you and me, Vince, we'll ride it out to the end with whoever you think makes sense for us to do so. Because Ashley makes more sense to keep around for Morgan. But whatever you say, Vinny.
I mean, get rid of Lauren has always been her backup. It was get rid of Zay because he plays chess. Then it was get rid of Lauren. Then it was, wait, no, not Lauren. Jimmy? Nope, get rid of Lauren. Oh no, now I have to pick between my friends. Let's get rid of Rachel. Actually, I'm good with Rachel again. Let's get rid of Lauren. And then, now Rachel's gone. Let's get rid of Lauren. It's really been, I would say, a good half of her game has been about getting rid of Lauren. The fact that Lauren still hasn't even been nominated is wild, considering she's the most active player.
And this is one of our top contenders to win Big Brother 27.
Yep.
Maybe.
So, again, Morgan talks to the cameras. This is when, you mentioned that she was like, I don't understand why I keep being asked if there's something there with Vince. And then she said, I really respect him and his relationship, and I'm excited to meet Kelsey. And it's like, oh boy. They then later in the night talk about, they're talking about how Kelley wasn't being respectful to Riley and Catherine's relationship. That Rachel was saying, like, wow, if a girl in the house was like that with Brendan, I would have gotten her out of the house, because that would have been disrespectful, the way that Kelley was acting with Riley and Catherine. And Morgan takes this opportunity to then transition into, because it's like, that's why, like, with you sometimes, Vinny, I'm well aware you have a girlfriend. I don't think people ever get the gist that there's anything more than friends going on. And we know this is a lie, because literally that same day she was talking to the cameras about like how people are getting the gist that something else is going on. Again, they both know what's happening, and they're both speaking lies out loud, having a fake conversation to try to gaslight themselves and the world into convincing themselves that it's not. She says, and Vinny's, oh no, I hope not. I told Kelsey before this too, that people are going to be super close, and like, I want you to know that, like, if I'm laying in bed with a girl or a female, and Morgan's like, oh, let me stop you there. That's why I always make sure that we have separate blankets. You have your blanket, I have my blanket. I'm like making it like very clear, because I'm sure some people would be like, oh, I'm sure people are already being like, oh, they're too close. That's disrespectful. I mean, I'm telling you, as far as I know, I mean, obviously I'm going to find out everything afterward. But before coming here, Kelsey is the least jealous person on the planet. She understands that we're going to be seeking human connection. Morgan laughs at we're going to need a comfort zone, a safe place, and if it's a person and that person happens to be female, Morgan laughs again, she's not going to be jealous of that. Like, I think she just gets it. I don't think she'll care about people talking shit. And Morgan's like, well, that's all that matters. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, are you straddling me and we're making out at 2 a.m.? Then yeah, that would be cheating. Let's not do that. Morgan's like, oh, well, yeah, that would be cheating. That's not maybe. That'd be cheating. I know people are going to have opinions on whatever, but I also know the boundaries and stuff. So I'm not worried about that.
We love to convince ourselves by saying it out loud 100 times that we're not doing what we know we're doing. We love to just pretend and really, again, convince yourselves. I just need this whole clip like edited over the hug with the hand sliding under the strap, because it wasn't just, oops, I went for the hug and my hand went back there. No, like just the slow motion of the hand going under the strap, pulling Morgan in for a very close, tight hug. What else is there left to say? They know what they're doing. They know what it looks like, and they are trying every possible angle to, and I really don't think at this point, maybe it's a little bit of this, trying to convince the cameras, the audience, production, whoever's watching, but it really feels like a lot of trying to convince themselves, one another, that everything that they're doing is okay and fair and fine. And, if they come out of the house and they say, well, see, we obviously didn't think that we were doing anything wrong. You can go watch the clip. We were talking about, we thought everything was fine here. We weren't straddling each other and making out on the hammock. We were just holding hands, and I might have kissed her hand because I was just needing some, friendship and
human connection, human chemistry.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's chemistry.
It's why, I mean, this is obviously, like, first of all, there's nothing else to talk about. But second, like, this obviously happened in the house plenty of times before. It's just that normally people are like not talking about it out loud and trying to convince themselves in the world that what they're doing isn't, like, when Austin's in there with Liz, he's not like, I'm not actually cheating. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's not what's happening. They're not speaking these things out loud. And so we're getting a front row seat at like the cheater convention of how they convince themselves that what they're doing is not wrong, or not convince themselves really, because let's be real, they know. But how they are planned to convince other people, the way that he's continuing to cue up the jealousy thing is what really gets me, because the way that this happens is that you try to cue it up like, oh, the only way that somebody would have an issue with this is if they were jealous, and she's not jealous. So if she does have an issue with it, oh, that just means she's being a little jealous, and we'll have to handle that. And it's just like, oh boy.
It's bad. We keep talking about how, the storylines of Rachel versus Vince won't play out now. Rachel versus Keanu won't play out. I'm starting to realize and remember that one of my favorite Rachel storylines was how aware she was of the Vince and Morgan situation. Everyone is, but Rachel, especially as a reality TV, like, historian and super fan, was watching them so closely, every movement, and waiting to figure out how to talk about it in subtle moments, mentioning like, you guys do all see this, right? Like, this is insane. And now that she's separated from this story, it's another loss. So that sucks. But I wonder if, when she's at the jury house watching the footage back, if we'll get any of her commentary mixed in there, because she was very on top of, what these two were up to, as again, everybody is, but just watching it through Rachel's eyes was a special part of the season, and they took it away from us, and now I'm mad again.
I mean, everyone in the house talks about it constantly at this point. They feel uncomfortable with it. They think it's weird. It's constantly being talked about in the house. They know that it's constantly. That's why they're now talking about it, to try to diffuse it. It's quite the situation. But
And like,
that's about it for the day.
How do we not
that
feel like they're going to end up deep into the game, right? Like the chance of them being final two feels pretty strong to me. It's just like such a the loyalty is there to one another. Whether or not Vince's loyalty is actually to Lauren over Morgan is another story that we don't need to know right now. I guess a lot of it could all be, the intrigue could all be plucked away from us if there is another elimination competition and one of them goes there, and then who knows? Very likely possibility, but I don't know. Just like who is going to be working for both themselves and somebody else in the house? It's those two.
We will see. Anything else to bring up, Matt?
Yes. Kelley offered Lauren $1,000 if she could find the 5 dead bugs that she's hidden in the house. So I will be curious to see if Lauren can cash out on that.
Yeah, Kelley has been bringing dead bugs inside because she's so random, guys. She's just so LOL random.
Did you see her last night? She was wearing Keanu's Rachel's Jimmy sweatshirt, and she needed to tell everybody about it.
So yeah, she did offer $1,000 for as a bounty for if somebody can find her 5 dead bugs in the house.
So we told the woman that scrubbed someone's toothbrush into the toilet bowl. Hey, you have to fix this. You have to make sure that he's not brushing his teeth with toilet bowl water. And that's fair. Obviously, it's a good jump to tell that person not to do that. But you're living amongst dead bugs on purpose, and we don't know where they are. They could be in your bed. They could be in the food. They could be. We're not telling this person that she has to throw the dead bugs out.
Like she's Lisa sprinkling glitter.
It could be. She is not giving away the secrets. I don't know. Do you know where the bugs are? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, they could be anywhere. And she seems to be pretty insistent that these dead bugs are in the house.
Well, listen, production can't really be throwing stones because they let bugs in the house all the time.
Fair. Not intentionally. But at this point, it might as well be.
All right. Well, I believe that's what we have for you then today. Of course, I will be back tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 27 live feeds. I will also be, again, live tonight, YouTube, Twitch, and Patreon. If you don't want to watch the episode yourself, Patreon is a good option for you. And we'll watch tonight's episode together. Of course, after the episode, we'll be here on the podcast to recap it all. And in the meantime, check out the book Behind the Mirror, TaranArmstrong.com, if you want to pre-order it now. Matt, what do you got going on?
4:00 today, Dancing with the Stars preseason draft with myself, Sasha, and Brandon Donlin will be premiering on the RHAP YouTube. Make sure to find us in your podcast feed. New season is kicking off a week from today is Tuesday, a week from tonight. And we'll be live after every episode over on dancingwiththestars.com. So check that out here on RHAP. Otherwise, the Diary Room podcast with myself and Aman, new episode is out today. We had 3 patrons on with us to go through the next 6 players. I said this at some point on Twitter, Blue Sky. Look, production screwed Rachel over. Rachel's not getting screwed over in the Diary Room. We will take her as far all the way to the end as we possibly can. So she hasn't come up yet, but excited for Rachel's pull.
Good thing, huh? Because now you'd look at her differently, you know?
Very much so. Yeah. I was glad she had not come up to the point when the season began. So we still have her in the mix between now and the end of the first round. So that will be fun whenever we get there. Hopefully, if we're all healed a little bit by then. And also talking about the challenge on the Free Agents podcast with Brian Scally. So check all of that out. And thanks as always.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us here today. And I will see all of you next time.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.